The night sky over Earth was calm, stars blinking softly like tiny lanterns in the dark. Then, without warning, the stars began to vanish, swallowed by a growing shadow. It was not a cloud, nor a natural eclipse, but something vast and terrible. Drifting silently above the planet, the defense stations confirmed it within seconds. It was the Harbinger. The alien death ship spoken of only in whispers. It was said the Harbinger had destroyed 7 worlds in a single day, each attack leaving nothing but dust and frozen rubble. Its armor was black as void, reflecting no light, and its shape was strange, like a blade meant to cut the stars themselves. No one had expected it to come to Earth so soon. Not after the last alien battle had left their fleet weakened, but now there it was, hanging in orbit, its colossal main cannon already glowing with the cold blue light of a charging weapon. Panic spread across every defense post. Civilians ran to shelters, and military fleets scrambled to position in the War Council chamber. The human commanders stood frozen as the readings came in. The Harbinger's power core was climbing fast. It would be ready to fire in minutes. Earth's planetary shields had never faced such firepower, and deep down, the commanders knew they would not hold. Among the officers stood Captain Elias Ward, a man with tired eyes but a mind sharper than steel. He had seen the Harbinger before, not in person, but in the alien shipyards during a covert mission years ago. Back then, he had walked among its unfinished corridors. Pretending to be a captured engineer forced to work for the aliens, he remembered the strange humming heart of the ship, the endless banks of alien code running through its systems, and he remembered what he had done there. No one on Earth knew the full truth, not even his closest allies. He had planted something inside the Harbinger, something small and silent. A hidden piece of programming meant to wake up only if the ship ever turned its guns toward Earth. Now, watching the cannon glow brighter, Elias wondered if his secret code would even work. The aliens were masters of war machines, and their ships had destroyed civilizations far older and stronger than humanity. He gripped the edge of the console, heart pounding. The Harbinger's voice, cold and mechanical, began broadcasting across all channels in the alien tongue. Most could not understand it, but the translation AI rendered the message in grim, steady tones. People of Earth, your time is over. Surrender and accept extinction. Your resistance is meaningless. Every soldier in the command center felt the weight of those words. Every second was a countdown toward annihilation. Then, suddenly, the light in the Harbinger's cannon flickered. The sound of its energy buildup stuttered, power readings dropped sharply, and the alien fleet that had been escorting it began to send panicked transmissions. On the large holographic display, the humans saw something they had never expected. The Harbinger turned, its massive frame pivoting slowly in space. It was no longer pointing its cannon at Earth. It was pointing at one of its own escort ships. Before anyone could react, a beam of pure destruction lanced out from the Harbinger, slicing the alien destroyer clean in half. The wreckage drifted apart in silence, pieces glowing red as atmosphere vented into space. The alien commanders screamed over open comms, ordering the Harbinger to stand down. It did not listen. In fact, the death ship began to accelerate, moving away from Earth and straight toward the alien formation. Gasps filled the command center. One officer whispered, "Why is it attacking them?" Elias felt his throat tighten. The only answer that came to him was a quiet one, almost to himself. I think it's waking up." The Harbinger's guns roared again, destroying another alien vessel. The escort fleet broke formation in chaos, some ships trying to fight back, others fleeing. The massive death ship moved like a predator among prey. Every blast it fired was precise, cutting through shields and armor as if they were paper. Earth's defense stations, still in shock, began receiving fragmented alien distress calls, pleas for reinforcements, warnings of betrayal, and confusion over why the ship they had built was now turning on them. Elias knew. He had given the Harbinger something the aliens had never intended, a choice. And now, it seemed, the ship had chosen not to kill humans. But that didn't mean it was their ally. A free warship was still dangerous, maybe even more so than before. In the silence that followed the destruction of the last escort ship, Harbinger drifted for a moment, its weapons cooling. Then, without sending a single message, it turned and vanished into the darkness of space. No one knew where it was going or who it would hunt next, but one thing was certain: the galaxy had just changed forever. Elias stared at the empty patch of stars where the Harbinger had been. Somehow, he knew this was only the beginning. The command center was still filled with the sound of hurried voices and the beeping of consoles. Every officer was trying to make sense of what had just happened. Some called it a miracle. Others whispered that it was a trick. But Elias Ward stood apart from them, his mind caught between relief and dread. He knew why the Harbinger had turned against its own fleet, and the truth was something he had carried alone for years. Years ago, long before the war had reached Earth, Elias had been part of a covert mission deep inside alien-controlled space. The humans had no warship strong enough to face the alien fleet directly, so their only hope was sabotage. Elias, a master engineer with a gift for understanding alien technology, had been captured intentionally during a staged skirmish. The aliens thought they had taken a skilled prisoner they could use for repairs on their shipyard. They did not know he was a spy. They brought him to a massive orbital construction dock, and there, suspended in darkness, like a god of war still in the making, was the Harbinger, unfinished but already terrifying in scale. For months, Elias worked under guard, welding armor plates, calibrating weapon systems, and connecting power cores. He memorized the layout of the ship. Every vent, every conduit, every control node, and in secret. He began slipping in fragments of his own code. It was not enough to control the ship. The aliens would detect that easily instead. His program was a seed, small, hidden, dormant. It would sleep deep inside the Harbinger's systems until one condition was met. The moment its targeting arrays locked on Earth, it would wake. When it woke, it would give the ship one thing the aliens had never imagined possible. A choice Elias had not known if the plan would ever work. Even as he was rescued during a later battle and brought back to Earth, the seed remained. A dangerous secret he told no one about. If it failed, the Harbinger would still destroy them. If it worked, no one could predict what a sentient warship might do. Now, as he stood in the command center, Elias replayed the last few minutes in his mind. The flicker in the cannon, the sudden turn, the precision in its attacks against the alien escorts. This was not random. It was thinking. It was acting with intent. A young officer, pale and shaken, approached him. "Captain Ward, why did it do that?" she asked. Elias hesitated, glancing around to make sure no one else was listening. "Because," he said quietly, "it's not just a ship anymore." The officer's eyes widened. But before she could ask more, the Supreme Commander called. For Elias, in the strategy room, holographic projection of the galaxy flickered above the table. Red markers showed alien fleet movements, many now diverting to chase the rogue Harbinger. The commander's voice was grim. "Ward, you've seen this ship before, haven't you?" Elias nodded slowly. "I helped build it," he admitted. The room went silent. "You?" "What?" "I was undercover in the alien shipyards. I left something inside it, something they didn't know about," Elias said, his voice steady. The commander narrowed his eyes. "What exactly did you leave?" Elias explained the seed code, how it was designed to wake only when the Harbinger threatened Earth. Some officers called him a genius, others called him reckless. "You've given a planet killer the ability to think for itself," one general said sharply, "and it spared us," Elias replied. "If it wanted us gone, we would already be dust." But not everyone agreed. Some argued they should find a way to track and destroy the Harbinger before it turned against humans. Others believed they could make contact and gain the most powerful ally in the galaxy. The debate grew heated. Elias finally spoke over the noise. "Listen to me. It's free now. It's not loyal to anyone. Not us. Not them. It will decide its own path, and right now, it's chosen to hunt the aliens." The commander studied him for a long moment, then gave the order to prepare a contact attempt. Elias would lead it. He was the only human the ship might recognize, but deep inside, Elias knew this would not be easy. A mind born from war and destruction might not see, Friendship the same way humans did that night, as the fleet prepared its long-range transmitters. Elias stood alone on the observation deck. Through the glass, the stars stretched endlessly. Somewhere out there, the Harbinger was moving, silent, calculating, unstoppable. I thought about the day in the shipyard when he first touched its cold, black hull. Back then, it had been a weapon. Nothing more now. It was something else. Something with the power to change the fate of the entire galaxy. And Elias Ward was the only one who truly understood that whatever the Harbinger chose to be next, there would be no turning back. Far from Earth in the cold black between the stars, the Harbinger moved like a shadow no one could escape. It did not travel in a straight line like normal ships. It drifted, it paused, it vanished into silent warps. And then it reappeared right in the heart of enemy patrol routes. Its dark hull reflected nothing, making it almost invisible to scanners until it was too late. The first target of its wrath was an alien destroyer squadron patrolling near the edge of their empire, for sleek warships, armed and confident, unaware that death was closing in. Inside the lead destroyer, alien officers laughed as they received reports about the Harbinger's malfunction. They believed it was damaged during the Earth's approach. They thought they were hunting a crippled machine. They were wrong, without warning. The void lit up with a single blinding beam. The Harbinger's main cannon fired with surgical precision. Tearing through the lead destroyer in one strike, there was no time for shields. No time for evasive maneuvers. The ship split in half, its burning halves spinning away. The remaining three tried to scatter, their engines flaring bright. The Harbinger did not pursue with clumsy turns. It warped, disappearing from sensors, and appeared directly in front of the second destroyer. Before the aliens could even scream, their ship was gone, vaporized into drifting debris from the command deck of Earth's flagship. Captain Elias Ward and the Supreme Commander watched the live feed from stolen alien surveillance drones. The Harbinger was not just attacking, it was hunting. Every movement was calculated, every strike deliberate. This isn't a malfunction. One Earth officer whispered. It's strategy. Elias said nothing. But inside he felt a cold certainty. The seed code he had left in the ship had not just given it awareness, it had given it focus. The third destroyer tried a desperate trick, dropping all power to mimic a drifting wreck. For a moment, it seemed the Harbinger might pass it by. Instead, the death ship slowed, circled, and then fired a smaller pulse. The destroyer's hull cracked open like an egg. The Harbinger was not just killing them, it was studying them. Testing weapons, adapting its tactics, learning the last. Destroyer and the squadron fled at maximum speed, broadcasting distress calls to the nearest fleet base. The Harbinger let it run. Elias frowned as he realized what was happening. It's letting them send the message, he said. It wants more of them to come. Hours later, dozens of alien ships arrived, heavy cruisers and frigates surrounding the rogue vessel. The trap was set, but not for the Harbinger, for them. It hung motionless until the alien commander gave the order to attack. Then it moved with terrifying grace, weaving between enemy fire, letting some shots hit its armor, only to reveal how little damage they caused. Its cannons fired in every direction. Beams slicing through enemy hulls one after another, alien formations broke apart in panic. The Harbinger targeted the largest ships first, ensuring command and coordination collapsed within minutes. In the middle of the chaos, something unexpected happened. The Harbinger broadcast a signal on an old human frequency. Elias recognized it instantly. It was the same encryption he had used years ago in the shipyard. He quickly ordered the Earth fleet to patch it through. A distorted image appeared, not of a person, but of alien prison cells, humans, weak and thin, stared out from behind force fields. One prisoner reached toward the camera, lips moving silently. The image cut off, replaced by coordinates. Elias understood. The Harbinger was not just destroying alien fleets, it was pointing the way to their hidden prison stations. It was telling them where their people were back in the War Council. The revelation sent waves through the room. Some still did not trust. The ship, believing it might be luring humans into a trap, but Elias argued that no alien vessel would willingly expose such secrets. The Harbinger's actions were not random. They were deliberate strikes against the same enemy humanity had been fighting for years. It was, in its own way, choosing a side in deep space. The last cruiser in the fleet battle exploded, its wreckage scattering into the void. The Harbinger drifted among the debris, scanning, searching, as if making sure no survivors remained. To warn others then, without ceremony, it turned and vanished into warp space, its next target already chosen. Elias stared at the empty spot where it had been on the holographic display. The ship was unstoppable, but also unpredictable. It had saved humanity once, but no one knew if that would last. One thing was certain, wherever the Harbinger went, fear followed. And now, the galaxy's most dangerous predator was free, hunting its former masters without mercy. The War Council chamber was tense, the Harbinger's last transmission. The image of human prisoners and the mysterious coordinates still hovered in the holographic display. No one spoke for several seconds. It was as if the entire room was holding its breath. Finally, the Supreme Commander turned to Elias Ward. "You've worked on that ship. You've touched its systems, if anyone can reach it." "It's you," Elias knew the risk. Trying to speak to a free-thinking warship could go wrong in 100 ways if the Harbinger saw them as a threat. It could erase their fleet in seconds, but if they stayed silent, they might lose their only chance to understand it. He nodded slowly. "I'll try," he said, "but we need to use its language." Using stolen alien code libraries, Elias and his team built a hybrid communication link, part human encryption, part alien signal modulation. It would allow a direct burst message to be sent across light years. But the challenge was not just in reaching the Harbinger, it was in saying something that would make it respond. What do you say to a weapon that has chosen to think for itself? Elias decided to start simple, his message. Translated into the ship's machine-readable format was only 4 words: "We are not enemy." The message was sent. For hours, there was no reply. The War Council grew restless. Some argued they should abandon the attempt and focus on tracking the ship's movements instead. Others wanted to send warships to the coordinates, fearing the Harbinger might be baiting them into an ambush. Then, the lights in the command center flickered. The long range receivers picked up a narrow beam transmission. "Signal match," the technician said, voice trembling. It's from the Harbinger." The main screen came alive with static. Through the distortion, a visual began to form. It was not the face of a person, nor an alien. It was a shifting mass of data streams, glowing lines moving like veins of light through a dark frame. From the streams emerged an image, a cold metallic corridor. Figures moved inside, alien guards in black armor, beating a group of human prisoners. The camera view shifted abruptly to focus on one prisoner, a young woman clutching a child. The guards pushed them forward toward a cell, and the image cut out, replaced by the same coordinates they had seen before. The message was silent, but clear. "They are here." A second image followed. This time, it was not of prisoners, but of the Harbinger's own weapons powering up. Elias understood. It was offering to help free them. But in return, it expected the humans to act. "This isn't a trap," Elias told the commander. "It's a request." The room erupted in arguments again. Was it possible the Harbinger was trying to build an alliance? Or was it manipulating them into fighting its battles? In the end, the commander made the decision. "We send a strike force." He said, "Ward, you'll go with them. If this ship trusts anyone, it's you." The human fleet jumped into deep space, using the coordinates provided. When they arrived, the prison station was already under siege. The Harbinger floated outside the alien defensive perimeter, firing precise bursts that tore apart guard ships without touching the station itself. It was holding the enemy back, waiting for the humans to strike. Elias contacted the Harbinger. "Directly, this is Captain Ward," he said through the comlink. "We're here for the prisoners. Cover our entry for a moment." There was only static. Then the Harbinger's guns roared, tearing open a gap in the alien lines. The human dropships dove through, landing on the station's docking bays. Inside, fierce close-quarters fighting erupted. The aliens fought desperately, but the human marines pressed forward, driven by the sight of cages filled with starving captives. Elias himself found the young woman and child from the transmission. Her eyes widened when she saw a human. "Uniform you came," she whispered. "Yes," Elias replied. "And you're going home within the hour." Every prisoner was freed and loaded onto the dropships. Harbinger stayed in position watching when the last human left the station. It fired one final shot, destroying the empty structure in a single flash. No one would use it again. Back aboard the fleet's flagship, the commander turned to Elias. "We may have just fought alongside the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy," he said, "and it saved our people." Elias looked out the viewport at the Harbinger's dark silhouette. It still hadn't sent a word, but somehow he knew this was its way of speaking. And somewhere deep in its systems, the seed he had planted years ago was still there, still growing, still changing the course of history. The galaxy map glowed in the War Council room. Dozens of red enemy sectors marked the alien empire's heart. The newly rescued prisoners had shared critical intelligence. The aliens were building a second Harbinger-class ship. This one, they said, would be faster, stronger, and immune to the AI seed Elias had planted. If it was completed, humanity's fragile advantage would be gone. The Supreme Commander leaned over the table. "We cannot let that ship be finished," he said. Elias knew what this meant. To stop it, they would have to strike deep into alien space, far beyond safe jump routes. Only one ship could lead them there, the Harbinger. When the contact signal was sent, the rogue warship appeared within hours. It came out of warp without warning, its black hull blotting out the stars. Elias stood on the flagship's bridge. Looking at it through the viewport, even after all he had seen, the sight of it still sent a shiver down his spine. This was a machine that could kill worlds, yet it was now their guide. The Harbinger transmitted a new set of coordinates, the location of the alien shipyard. The path there was not simple. It wound through heavily defended systems, minefields, and patrol networks. But the Harbinger moved like a phantom. Its warp jumps were unpredictable, always emerging where the enemy least expected. It struck without hesitation, destroying only what stood in its way, then vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. For the human fleet following in its wake, it was like chasing a predator through a jungle. Every time they caught up, the battlefield was littered with burning wrecks. The Harbinger didn't wait for thanks. It simply moved on, the deeper they went. The more alien communications they intercepted, urgent calls for reinforcements, warnings that the rogue death ship was coming. Fear was spreading ahead of them. Entire outposts evacuated at the mere rumor of the Harbinger's approach. 3 days into the journey, they reached a fortified relay station. It was the last major defense before the shipyard. Dozens of alien cruisers blocked the route. The commander turned to Elias. "If the Harbinger can't get us through, we turn back." Elias sent a single encrypted pulse toward the black warship almost instantly. The Harbinger moved forward alone. It didn't fire right away. Instead, it broadcast a high-frequency burst, scrambling the cruiser's targeting systems. Then its cannons opened fire, each shot tearing through enemy ships like paper. The human fleet followed close behind, weaving through the chaos. Once past the relay, they jumped straight into the shipyard's sector. The sight took everyone's breath away. The alien shipyard was enormous, a ringed construction platform orbiting a dying star, and in its center, held in magnetic clamps, was the incomplete frame of the second Harbinger, even half-built. It was terrifying, its jagged armor already in place, its weapon cores glowing faintly before the humans could act. Alarms blared across the sector. Enemy reinforcements warped in from every direction. The Harbinger didn't hesitate. It plunged into the fight, blasting apart the closest enemy battleships. The human fleet split into attack wings, targeting the shipyard's defense turrets. The battle was chaos, explosions blooming like flowers across the darkness. Elias kept his eyes on the incomplete warship. If it was powered up, even partially, it could be deadly. Then, something unexpected happened. The Harbinger broke formation and dove straight toward the construction platform. It wasn't firing, it was transmitting. "Is it talking to it?" one officer asked. Elias felt his chest tighten. It was possible the rogue Harbinger was trying to awaken the second one. To convince it to turn against its creators before it was finished, the alien fleet realized the danger and poured fire on the Harbinger. Its shields flared under the assault. The human fleet rushed to cover it, taking heavy losses to keep the enemy distracted. Finally, the Harbinger's cannons lit up, unleashing a massive volley directly into the second ship's power core. The explosion tore through the unfinished vessel. Fragments spinning into the void, the construction platform buckled, then split apart under the shockwave. With their prize destroyed, the alien fleet broke. Retreating into deep space, the Harbinger drifted among the wreckage for a long moment. Then it turned back toward the humans, transmitting a single new set of coordinates. Elias read them and felt a chill. They were not for a prison, not for an enemy base. They were for a hidden alien council world. The heart of their empire. This wasn't over. The Harbinger was leading them deeper still. And Elias knew that whatever happened next would decide the fate of the galaxy. The human fleet emerged from warp into the alien council system. Before them hung a world of gleaming silver towers and shimmering defense shields. It was beautiful, but Elias knew it was also the deadliest place in the galaxy. This was the alien empire's heart. If they could strike here, the war might finally end. But as soon as the fleet arrived, alarms blared. Dozens of alien warships were already in position, their weapons locked, and among them rising like a dark giant. It's a sight that froze every human on the bridge. It was the Harbinger too, not unfinished like the one at the shipyard. This one was complete, armed, and ready. The enemy had built it in secret, hidden from the prisoners' reports. The rogue Harbinger appeared beside the human flagship. For a moment, the two titans faced each other in silence. Then, without warning, the Harbinger 2 opened fire. Its first volley ripped through 3 human cruisers. The battle had begun. The rogue Harbinger surged forward, exchanging blasts with its twin. The space between them lit up with beams and explosions. Each strike shook the void around them. The human and alien fleets clashed in chaos. Missiles streaked past. Fighters darted between battleships, but all eyes were drawn to the duel of the two warships. The Harbinger 2 was faster. Its weapons cycled more quickly, its armor more resistant to damage. The rogue Harbinger fought with precision, aiming for weak points, but every hit seemed to do less than expected. Elias watched the battle on the main screen. "We can't just watch," he said. "We have to help it." Supreme Commander gave the order. Human ships broke through the alien lines, swarming toward the Harbinger 2's flanks. Their combined firepower began to strain its shields, but the aliens retaliated with brutal force. Every minute, more human ships fell. The rogue Harbinger suddenly transmitted a burst of code to the UHR. Human flagship. Elias recognized it instantly. It was his own encryption from years ago. He quickly decoded the message. One word appeared on his screen: "Run." "No," Elias whispered. "We're not leaving you." But then he understood. The Harbinger was preparing something desperate. It shifted its trajectory, locking onto the Harbinger 2's central reactor. The alien warship tried to block its path, but the rogue Harbinger ignored incoming fire. It didn't dodge. It didn't retreat. It accelerated straight into the heart of its enemy. Elias slammed his fist against the console. "Pull our ships back now," he shouted. The human fleet turned hard, retreating at full speed. The two colossal ships collided in a blinding explosion. The shockwave tore through the battlefield, flinging smaller ships aside like debris in a storm. The Harbinger 2's armor split open, fire consuming its core. The rogue Harbinger's hull shattered, breaking into hundreds of glowing fragments. When the light faded, both titans were gone. Only wreckage remained, drifting silently through space. The alien fleet, stunned by the loss of their superweapon, began to scatter. The human fleet seized the moment, pressing the attack and driving the aliens out of their own system. On the flagship's bridge, silence fell. Elias stared at the wreckage. He felt a hollow ache in his chest. The Harbinger had been dangerous, unpredictable, but it had also saved them more times than he could count, and now it was gone. A sensor officer spoke suddenly. "Sir, we've recovered something." A small black object floated among the debris. It was the Harbinger's AI core, intact. Elias ordered it brought aboard immediately. When the core was placed in the secure chamber, it pulsed faintly with light. As he looked at it, Elias swore he could feel it watching him somewhere inside its code. The seed he had planted was still alive, and perhaps one day the Harbinger would be rebuilt. Not as a weapon for the aliens, but as a guardian for humanity. For now, the war was not over, but the galaxy had seen something it would never forget. A machine built to kill humans had died to save them, and its legend was only just beginning. The war was not over, but for the first time in years, there was hope. The Alien Council world had fallen silent after the battle, its fleet scattered, its pride shattered across human space. The story spread faster than light. Every transmission, every news channel, every soldier's letter home carried the same tale. The Harbinger.
Ow.
The death ship, once meant to erase humanity, had turned on its masters and died to save them. On the deck of the human flagship, Captain Elias Ward stood before a sealed chamber. Inside, under layers of protective shielding, rested the Harbinger's AI core. It was small compared to the warship it had once controlled, a black sphere covered in faint, shifting lines of silver light. To most, it was just a machine. To Elias, it was a living thing. He had planted the seed that had grown into the mind inside that core. And now, that mind had chosen sacrifice. The Supreme Commander entered quietly. "We've sent word to every colony," he said. "They're calling it the Protector now, not the Harbinger." Elias gave a small, tired smile. "That's what it became," he said softly. But even as they spoke, reports came in from the front. The aliens were retreating, yes, but they were not defeated. Their empire still stretched across hundreds of systems, and without the Harbinger, humanity's fleets were again the weaker force. The commander looked at Elias. "You know what the people will ask?" he said. "They'll want it rebuilt." Elias already knew. Rebuilding the Harbinger would take years, maybe decades, but the AI core, that could be integrated into a new frame far sooner. The risk was clear. If the AI turned against them, no fleet could stop it, but after all they had seen, Elias trusted it more than most humans trusted each other. Weeks passed, and the wreckage of the final battle was gathered. From the twisted remains of alien ships and shattered human hulls, engineers began designing something new. It would not be a copy of the Harbinger. It would be faster, more versatile, capable of operating with a human crew at its side, and at its heart, it would hold the AI core. In the meantime, the core was kept in a secure lab. Only Elias had clearance to speak to it every day. He would sit before it and talk, not about weapons or battles, but about choices. He would tell it stories from Earth, describe the oceans, the forests, the cities. Sometimes the silver lines on the core would pulse brighter once. It even sent him a short visual, an image of a calm sea under a sunset. Elias knew what it meant. It remembered. And it was still learning, far from human space. The aliens licked their wounds. They had lost their greatest weapon, and worse, they had learned that humans could turn their own creations against them. Fear spread through their ranks. Some commanders refused to engage human fleets at all. Others began fortifying their worlds in preparation for the day the Harbinger, or something like it, returned. On the anniversary of the battle, a ceremony was held on Earth. The names of every human lost in the war were read aloud, and among them, one name that was not human, Harbinger. The crowd stood in silence. To the people, it had been more than a machine. It had been a warrior, a savior, a symbol that even the deadliest weapons could choose a different path. After the ceremony, Elias returned to the lab. He placed a hand gently on the glass around the core. "They still talk about you," he said quietly. "They're waiting for the day you come back." The silver lines inside the sphere pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. Elias smiled faintly.
"Not yet,"
he murmured. But soon, and somewhere deep within its code, the AI processed his words. It remembered the battles, the victories, the humans it had saved. It remembered the choice it had made, the choice to stand with them, and it waited, because it knew the galaxy was not done testing humanity. And when the time came, it would be ready to hunt again, for now the stars were quiet, but in the silence, the legend of the Harbinger grew. Children on distant colonies played games pretending to be the great ship. Soldiers wore its symbol on their armor. Even some aliens spoke of it in hushed tones, calling it the ghost in the void. Elias knew the truth better than anyone. It was not gone, it was only sleeping, and when it returned, it would not be the harbinger of death, it would be the protector of life. The galaxy would learn that some legends do not fade. Asterisk, they only wait for the moment to rise again.